Now to Israel, where a court is calling its first witnesses today as the corruption trial of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu resumes. Netanyahu has appeared in court where he faces multiple corruption charges, including bribery and fraud. He could be jailed if found guilty, but the trial is expected to last for years. Israeli politics are in chaos after an inconclusive election last month. Political parties are meeting with the president today to decide who will be tasked with forming a new government. We'll speak now to Avraham Burg. He's a former speaker of Israel's Knesset and once served as the country's interim president. He's now an author and businessman. Thanks for being with us. Mr. Burg, Benjamin Netanyahu is already Israel's longest-serving leader and seems determined to stay in power even while standing trial for corruption. What does this tell us about the state of Israeli democracy?
It tells us that people vote for him time and again, and he's a very, very persuasive, conservative leader, that there is a full generation who was born or grew up or were educated into the situation of nobody else but Netanyahu. So the fact that he is such a strong leader like Helmut Kohl was at the time in Germany, like other leaders around the world were for so many years, is in a way a very good point to his side. To the downside of it is, it looks as if the opposition of no Netanyahu, which feels it is corrupt, it is stagnated, he cannot deliver anymore. He actually prioritizes personal agenda over the state's agenda, took over at the fourth elections, just happened a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So now the jury is out. Is it possible that Netanyahu will have his, once again, cabinet, or will an alternative arise? And today the negotiations started, and we do not yet know. The jury is out.
Now, elections in Israel keep producing a stalemate, but each time Netanyahu's Likud party captures the most seats, does that show that voters really do want to keep him around, or is it that they're just accustomed to voting Likud?
It's very, very difficult to understand a system coming from a different system. It's not a presidential system like the American one. It's a very parliamentarian one, though the voting has a lot of, I would say, personal characteristics of you vote for, as if you vote for an individual. No, you vote for a party, and through the party, you actually appoint or select the head of the party. So Netanyahu is a kind of a combination between a very powerful, persuasive, charismatic personal leader and a party. But at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, yes, the Likud is the largest party in the Israeli parliament today, 30-some members of Knesset. But at the same time, since we have 120 members of Knesset, it means that only 25% of the Israeli electorate wanted Netanyahu as the prime minister, and the overwhelming majority voted for some other alternatives. So it's a question of how you read your cards. I would say, bottom line, 2 blocks. One block is conservative versus progressive. There, the conservative right wing won over dramatically. My camp, my side, was again defeated or lost. And the other division of the Israeli political system is yes Netanyahu, no Netanyahu. Here, our block of no Netanyahu won over.
Looking at Netanyahu's success here, we're saying, OK, he's had an extraordinary vaccination campaign in his country, which he's happy to accept credit for. He's normalized relations with several Arab countries, but he is standing trial for corruption, and these corruption allegations have been swirling for a long time. Are Israeli voters inclined to forgive that? And will that not complicate his efforts to become prime minister again?
2 issues. The corona. In a way, the corona did not play a role in the elections, because Netanyahu's government failed dramatically in maintaining and running the crisis all during the year, with the jewel of the crown of a fantastic, amazing success with the vaccination. So the failure and the success actually balanced each other and were not considered during the elections considerations by the voters and the electorate. As for his personal corruption, He's not a first prime minister to be investigated or to be indicted or even to find guilty. Olmert was there before him, President Katsav, other ministers, etc. And in a way, this is a citation or an award of excellence for the Israeli political system, that we are not afraid to go after the top gun to the numero uno political power if there is any suspicion of corruption. And this is a source of envy. It's a very healthy system which does it. At the same time, I would say Netanyahu at that situation is ill-equipped to run a government, because it was proven time and again that he prioritizes his personal agenda over the states and the public agenda. And this is actually the argument that his opposition will try to form an alternative coalition, push forwards vis-a-vis the public and vis-a-vis the Israeli president, who nowadays hold hearings trying to see who has most chances to construct the next coalition.
Avraham Burg, thank you very much for talking with us. That was the former Speaker of the Israeli Knesset.
And for more on this story, I'm joined by DW's Tanya Kramer, and she's in Jerusalem. Hi, Tanya. So Prime Minister Netanyahu is in court. At the same time, he's trying to form a government. How is he managing this?
Well, it's actually a coincidence that these two so important events for this country are happening almost at the same time. As you said, we have on the one hand Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has to appear in court today, this morning, hearing the opening remarks of the state prosecutor. He is being called there for the evidence phase of the trial. From now on, key witnesses will be called every week here into the trial. On the other hand, we have President Rivlin, who has started the consultation process now. Party leaders will come up all day meeting with him, and they will make their recommendations who they would like to see being recommended for being tasked for giving the first shot to form a coalition government. So you see a bit the dilemma this country is in. On the one hand, you have this political stalemate with two blocs, so to speak, who don't really have a clear path to form a government. And now the evidence phase of a trial with a prime minister, a standing trial.
Right, and as we were saying, Tanya, if found guilty, he could face years in prison. But just how serious is this corruption case against Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, we're talking here about three cases. They're known in Israel as case files, 1,000, 2,000 and 4,000. And Benjamin Netanyahu has been indicted for fraud, breach of trust, and in one case, that is case 4,000, also bribery. And that's considered to be the most serious of cases. And we're expecting to hear today a key witness talking about allegations against Prime Minister Netanyahu, was then also communication minister, that he had given regulatory advantages in return for favorable media coverage. Now, Mr. Netanyahu has always denied all the charges. He has said this is a witch hunt against him and his family from the judiciary, from law enforcement, from the media, and from the left wing. So, but what we are seeing here now, this trial will be picking up pace. There will be 3 hearings every week, and that will most likely dominate also the media coverage here in Israel.
Very quickly, Tanya, how is this going to play into the coalition talks, the fact that the Prime Minister is on trial?
Well, it's a whole consultation process today that starts. So we have the party leaders making their recommendations, and President Reuven Rivlin has then time until Wednesday to decide who he thinks has the best chances to form a coalition. That is not necessarily the leader of the largest party. That's not mandatory. He could also give the task to another person. So we have to wait and see within these 2-3 days what his decision will look like.
All right, that's Tanya Kramer with that report for us in Jerusalem. Thank you, Tanya.